Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the 3 Yards and a Cloud of Dust NFL podcast. As always, I'm your host, Josh, and with me, my co-host, Jonathan.
How you doing, everybody?
And we want to give a real big welcome back to Kyle, who's agreed to be our producer from here going forward. Yeah, awesome.
Hey guys, how's it going?
So we're really thankful that he's joining the team. Have somebody who's experienced with that kind of stuff who can really help us out going forward.
So you don't have to be on it the entire time.
Yeah, exactly. I still got to do all the editing and stuff, but hey, that's fine. I don't mind that. But anyways, getting into our news for the week, we've got quite a few things. Some important, some not so much, but let's get into the news. So the biggest thing that's happened here in the last week is OTAs have officially begun. And for those of you who don't know what it stands for, it's Organized Team Activities. Basically, this is the first round of any kind of practices or anything that the teams are coming together to do together as a whole team, not just the rookies, not just certain positions here and there. They'll still have mini camps coming up where they will focus in on certain positions. But this is it's basically like a glorified meet and greet for all the teams and their new players.
Yeah, and this was I always heard of it. I just couldn't remember what it always stands for, so that actually is helpful.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it stands for Organized Team Activities or Organized Team Practice Activities, something like that. It's, but yeah, like I said, it's just no contact, no anything. Like you'll see pictures with them with their helmets on, but you won't see any pads or anything like that until they actually get into full-on training camp for the preseason, which is only going to be 3 games this year, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, so we got that extra regular season game, but we're losing a preseason game. And that's fine. I mean, it may not be fine for some players, like for rookie players that are trying to make it, or even guys that are coming back off of injuries. You kind of have to be a little more wary because you don't have that extra week of preparation.
Yeah.
But I think this will work out better, although I hope they never go less than 2 preseason games, because even then it's really, really iffy. I know they didn't do a preseason at all last year, but we saw how lousy the first couple of games were.
Yeah.
There were a lot of mistakes, a lot of stuff like that.
And a lot of teams and a lot of players get that out of the way in the preseason.
Yeah.
So not having it kind of causes the good stuff they would normally add.
Yeah. But with the OTA starting, we've got several stories coming out of some of these camps.
And the first one is actually with the Broncos QB Drew Lock, and he says, 0 time to listen to the chat about the QB competition out there against Teddy Bridgewater.
That's because there isn't going to be a competition.
No, because
Bridgewater's going to win that hands down.
Yeah. And Drew Lock thinks he's better, but Bridgewater is still going to come out on top because overall he is a better quarterback.
You know, the whole thing is Trevor Siemian, who was the starting quarterback before Drew Lock, sucked.
Yeah.
He was terrible. Somehow Drew Lock found a way to be worse than Trevor Siemian. And, Trevor Siemian did a lot of bad things. And it's not that Drew Lock has done a lot of bad things. He hasn't done a lot of good things. He's found a way to just kind of be bland. Like, he hasn't done anything super bad or anything super good. So he hasn't really proven that he deserves the number 1 spot. And for him to go into OTAs assuming that he's going to be the number 1 guy, especially when you've got somebody who has markedly more talent than him in Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
There's no competition.
No, it's hands down no competition. Bridgewater's deemed that top spot.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we also have more news on Deshaun Watson still wanting that trade, but in fact of that, he won't be going to the Texans OTAs.
And that was kind of predictable. Like, even if he wasn't upset with the teams, he probably wouldn't have participated much in the OTAs. Because a lot of that, I mean, you have a lot of veteran players that do end up sitting out OTAs every year. Just because they're older. Not saying that Deshaun Watson's old by any means, because He's not. He's still a relatively young guy. He's still got a lot of time left in the NFL.
And the thing is, he would still be doing OTAs if he already got traded.
Most likely, he'd be doing OTAs with whatever team he ended up on.
Exactly.
And that would make sense because it's a new team. He really needs to adjust to that new organization.
Yeah, but if he didn't, if all this didn't come out, and the Texans were just like, hey, we're still working on a trade with you. Would you do OTAs with me? I guarantee you would, because they were still physically looking for a trade. But because they already came out and said we're not planning on trading him, he's not willing to cooperate with them.
Yeah. And then, of course, another part of that story is the Texans are also releasing quarterback Ryan Finley. So they just signed Jeff Driscoll sometime last week.
Yeah.
And now they're going ahead and letting Ryan Finley go. So they went from having 5 quarterbacks all of a sudden back down to 4. But with all the moving that they're making with the quarterbacks, it still seems like Deshaun Watson is definitely done in Houston.
Yeah, and he will sit down as long as he's on the team, and because I want to say he only has one more season on his contract.
Well, yeah, and that's all. It's all going to hinge on the NFL's current investigation into his legal troubles from outside the league.
Yeah.
So we're still waiting to hear on that, of course. We don't know how that's going to shake out. We don't know if they're going to find him innocent and just, let it go, or if they're going to end up suspending him for a certain amount of time.
Which is what I'm hoping is they just find him innocent, and basically he can just sit out and force them to trade him, or just wait out there for the season and finish up his contract on the bench and go out and find another team that wants a quarterback.
Yeah.
Because you already know he's not going to sign that extension.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's fed up with the company already.
Yeah, well, yeah. That was pretty much evident from the fact that, he basically said that he wouldn't play if he's not traded.
Exactly.
But anyways, moving on. Rumors of several possible landing spots, Falcons wide receiver Julio Jones has confirmed that earlier this offseason he actually asked the team for a trade, which is really interesting because we all have been hearing rumors about the possibility of Julio Jones being traded for at least the last couple of years, but they've kind of seemed to heat up a little bit the last couple months.
Yeah.
And to find out that Julio has actually asked for a trade is really, really, really interesting because and with some of these signings that they've done, it maybe seems more like they are actually getting ready to move on from him. And when he was asked about his future with the team, he, quote, said, "I'm out of there." So he even thinks that his time in Atlanta is just done.
Yeah, and he just thinks that it's time for him to move on to another team and kind of learn a different setup with a different set of skills around him.
Yeah.
And because that's really the only way he will actually get out as a wide receiver too, having a different quarterback too.
I don't know if it's so much about getting better as a wide receiver. It's just, he's a veteran. He's a very solid wide receiver. Yeah, he's probably not as good as he used to be, but he's still damn good.
Yeah, and I think getting the change of scenery and having like a different quarterback and a different whole group of people around him may actually bring that physicality piece back into him and bring him back to his old self from when he got drafted.
Yeah, but I mean, he's basically there. So we can basically eliminate 3 teams that he will not be going to. I can guarantee this: the Bucks, the Saints, and the Panthers. He won't go to them. Why? Because they're all in the same division as the Falcons. The last thing they want to do is trade away Julio and then have him beat them.
Yeah.
Twice a year.
Exactly.
For at least the next 3 years. Because you figure he's got at least 3 to 5 years left in him.
Yeah, and how many years does he have left on contract? 2?
I have no idea, to be honest.
So,
but okay, so real quick, though, before we move on to the next piece, out of everywhere we've been hearing he possibly could go, where do you think his most likely landing spot is?
Probably with Kansas City, because you always have J.J. Watt there. You have yes, that I know he's on defense.
So you mean Arizona?
Yeah.
You said Kansas City.
Yes, that's what I meant. Thank
and then you said J.J. Watt, and I was like,
yes.
Wait a minute, I'm a little confused.
I meant the Arizona Cardinals because J.J. Watt's there. Yes, I know he's on defense, but now you have if Julio Jones does actually team up with Kyle Murray, J.J. Watt, you have a strong offensive line, and then you have addition to the offensive wide receiver squad.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see that as being very likely just because of the fact that not only do they have DeAndre Hopkins, but they still have Fitz.
But you add
Larry Fitzgerald.
But if they get Julio Jones too, now you have 3 big wide receivers that you can
but I mean,
with.
the whole thing is though, with the amount of money that Hopkins and Fitzgerald are commanding, I highly doubt they can afford Jones.
And then the only other spot would be Kansas City, though.
I don't see them going after him either because they've already got a set wide receiver core. As a matter of fact, they just let a guy go. They let Watkins go somewhere else. I forget exactly where he went, but they let Sammy Watkins go.
He's not going to want to go to the Cowboys because there's really no one there.
No, I understand he's not going to want to go to the Cowboys. I wouldn't want to go to the Cowboys either.
It's like the Dolphins is like a 10% chance. The Raiders have
I could see him going to the Dolphins, giving them a veteran wide receiver presence.
Yeah,
I actually like that fit.
And then a good spot for them is the Las Vegas Raiders. That would also be a good spot for him. Because
I did see on Twitter one of the Raiders pages actually put out like a possible deal that could be done, and they were asking that to get Julio Jones, would you be willing to have the Raiders give up a second round pick and extend Derek Carr in order to save money? Like, easily, yes. Hands down. It's like, why wouldn't you do that?
Derek Carr is
a great quarterback.
Yeah, and then you add a great wide receiver with him, you have a good duo right there.
Along with the budding wide receiver core that they already have with Henry Ruggs and Darren Waller.
Yeah, that would be a good group.
Yeah, exactly. So that I would definitely be okay with giving up a second round pick for Julio Jones. Hell, I think he's still worth the first round pick.
And then probably the only other one that
Not saying that I'd want to give up a first round pick for him, but
I think the only other spot that I can really think of that we would actually need a wide receiver would be the 49ers.
I agree with that. I can see him working well with the Niners, with Garoppolo as the head.
Yeah, and with their new callback that may not play this year, yes, but if they can figure out what's going on with him and being able to fit and be able to fix his issues and be able to prevent that from happening, I think Lance would be a good quarterback with Julio Jones, though.
Yes, the question is like, we know for a fact that the plan is for Garoppolo to play and then Lance to at least sit behind him this year. The question is, though, yes, I think that Julio Jones is probably going to be around for at least another 3 to 5 years. But is it going to be long enough for Trey Lance to actually get a chance to use him? Like, there's a possibility he could be gone after 1 year and moved on to another team.
Yeah.
He could end up playing for a different team for each of his last 5 years.
Yeah, and just kind of playing with different organizations just for the fun of it.
Or, I mean, just because nobody else is willing to sign him for longer than a year deal.
Yeah. So, we would just have to wait and see how that one plays out.
Yep. But up next we have
a current free agent, formerly Chargers defensive end Marvin Ingram, who was visiting with the Dolphins, who also actually visited with the Chiefs earlier this offseason.
Yeah, but he left that one without a deal.
Yeah, he left without a deal, but even though he's a great player, there has been a lot of injuries in his past. So now the question is, okay, do the Dolphins take the chance on him, even though with his injury background, even though he is still a great player?
I mean, I don't see why teams wouldn't pull the trigger on him. I can understand maybe the Chiefs didn't take it because they've already got a really good defense.
I say Dolphins should take a chance, at least just for a 1 year deal, just kind of just see how everything plays out.
I think he could easily do them some good.
Because if he doesn't get injured this year and he does extremely well, there's a good chance they'll probably add another 2 years to his contract.
Yeah, and I'm not like, and what I'm about to say is I'm not wishing for him to get injured, but like even if he does play this year and then he does go down with an injury, as long as he makes an impact before he goes down, then it could be something. it could still be worth it.
Yeah,
Like I said, I'm not wishing for him to get injured. I would never wish that on anyone.
Yeah, and if he does get injured, but he's only out for a couple games and comes back just as strong as when he started with the season, hey, that's still a good player.
Yeah, but like you highlighted, he is injury prone. He's dealt with several injuries throughout the year. He only played 11 games last year because of an injury.
Yeah.
Also, his very first year in the league, he suffered that torn ACL, which kept him out the entire season. So, and that was of course back with the Chargers. But I mean, I do think he is still a great player. He's done a lot for the Chargers. I think he could be a effective defensive end for the Dolphins.
Exactly.
If they choose to sign him. They got to pull the trigger on it, though.
Yeah, and the question is, will they pull it?
Somebody is going to pull the trigger on him this year.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that's the Dolphins because the Dolphins, they need that defensive end.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, I don't know if they absolutely need it. Like he could definitely help them because they had a really strong defensive line last year.
Yeah, but adding that one extra person to the defensive line or even the secondary line, that would strengthen the defense extremely.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I agree.
And that would give them an extra push to get the quarterback.
Yeah.
Going back to the Chargers safety, Derwin James has been medically cleared to fully participate in teams' OTAs. James missed all of the 2020 season with a meniscus injury, and with 11 games in the 2019 season with a stress fracture in his foot.
So what is it with the Chargers and guys that keep getting injured year after year?
Charger players end up apparently being injured prone.
I feel bad for Justin Herbert
Because every player that has gone into the Chargers or been drafted by the Chargers have always been injured. And then by the time when they get out, teams either don't want them because of their time with the Chargers, or they play with another team and they never get injured again. And it's like, you really gotta think about it. It's like, what's going on there to get all their players injured?
Yeah, I don't know. But it's really good news to hear that James is coming back. He's going to help out that secondary quite a bit.
Yeah.
He's an important part of that secondary. I know that for a fact. So it'll be good for the Chargers to have him back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Maybe they can actually win a few games this year. So next up, we've got the Falcons. Another note from the Falcons here. They've signed wide receiver Taje Sharp. Now, Sharp has also played with the Titans and the Vikings. He was also a member of the Chiefs last year, but he was only a member as a practice squad player. So he really, I mean, he's had some flashes here. You know, I've heard his name called on several different occasions. I've seen him play a couple of times. He really hasn't had a chance to show much for his time in the NFL. So this could be a good thing. It could be nothing. It could just be they're signing depth for the eventual moving on from Julio Jones.
Yeah, so we'll definitely have to watch and see what happens with this one.
Yeah.
With the Julio
Nothing
Jones.
Yeah, nothing really
everything.
special about this one. I mean, who knows? Every year you have different players that break out years. So this could be Sharp's year.
Yep, and it would definitely be fun.
In other news, the Packers have released corner KeVari Russell. I don't think I've ever really heard of him, though, but apparently it's a big thing that they've released him.
He's been he was the secondary, a second string safety on that team. When the safety went down, he did play for, I want to say, 3 or 4 games while the safety was down with an injury, and apparently he did extremely well, but
I know he had at least one interception last year.
Yeah, and I think at this point it's like they don't think they'll can really use him or put him too much work because the safeties really don't get injured much. So probably with the release, they're hoping that a team would be able to pick him up and actually physically use him because he is a good safety. He just hasn't been fully tested.
Yeah, okay, I'll agree with that one. Like I said, I haven't really heard his name called too much. Of course, I don't really watch Packers games all that much, especially now that my dad's not really watching them all at all. So and my dad's a big Packers fan, so, or at least he was. That whole situation right there is complicated. No, he didn't. Definitely did not. But yeah, so I mean, well wishes to Russell. Hopefully he finds somebody he can land with and makes a name for himself. That's all I can say. I mean, like I said, there's not too much to really go on here, but apparently it was a big deal in Green Bay, aside from the whole Aaron Rodgers stuff that's going on right now.
Yeah, so hopefully things clear up, and hopefully he can get picked up by a team.
Yeah, I'm done talking about Aaron Rodgers though at the moment.
Oh no, I was
significant.
I was talking about.
Yeah, you're talking about Russell. I figured that when you said getting picked up by a team.
But on other words,
he'll get picked up by somebody. There's bound to be an injury that happens that somebody's going to need to fill.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not wishing an injury on anybody. It's just when you're playing a game as violent as American football, it happens.
Yeah, and Matt Stafford, the Rams quarterback, actually did say in press conference that he is not limited at all, and he is, even after his minor procedure on his thumb, earlier this offseason.
And that's really good to hear that he feels that he's ready to go. Obviously, the final decisions will come to the coach. Will be up to the coaching staff, but it's heartening to hear that he's ready to go. He's embraced his role coming into the Rams, so it'll be really interesting to see how this year for LA goes on. And I'm hoping they made the right decision in moving on from Jared Goff and going to get Matt Stafford because number one, I've got a soft spot for the Rams. I always have. I really don't like their new jerseys or anything like that. They look terrible. I wish they would bring back the old dark blue and gold that they had while they were in St. Louis. I really loved that. That looked really nice. But, I want to see the Rams succeed. Plus, I want to see something special happen for Matt Stafford before he ends up retiring.
Yeah, and hopefully Matt Stafford...
Hopefully he can finally win a playoff game.
Actually, hopefully he can get a championship.
I just want to see him win a playoff game.
I want to see him.
He hasn't done that yet.
I want to see. I want to see him go
it's
all
not
the way.
Entirely his fault either.
I want to see him win the Super Bowl
before he retires. Something.
And who knows? This may happen this year because they still have a strong team in LA with the Rams. Yeah, that's still a strong team on both sides of the ball.
But I mean, he's got a lot of other strong teams to sit there and try and overcome. But, namely, he's got Green Bay and Tampa Bay there in the NFC that he's got to overcome. And then he's got teams like Kansas City and Buffalo, who are essentially the perennial teams to make the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, so it would definitely be interesting seeing what happens.
Yeah. And then the Las Vegas Raiders have released defensive lineman David Irving. I can't say I'm surprised that this happened.
He played decent, but he wasn't.
It was
great.
Okay, yeah. It wasn't anything special. Not to mention with all the guys that they've gone out and picked up this year, some of the moves that they made during the offseason. So like I said, I can't say I'm surprised about him being released. I am a little surprised that they decided to let him go before preseason even started, when they technically don't have to let him go. So, that is a little surprising for me there. But he really didn't do much for the team, so I'm not that upset about it.
Yeah, and they won't really miss him.
No, I don't think they would. This could also be, them trying to free up some cap space to go out and get somebody else.
Yeah.
I would still love to see Sheldon Richardson join the team. I don't think he will, for multiple reasons, but
we'll just have to.
That would be a nice move.
Yeah, we'll have to see how all that plays out.
Blockbuster trade. The Raiders get Aaron Donald.
Oh, if they get Aaron Donald,
it's over.
AFC is done.
Yeah.
Raiders all actually in competition.
If they get Aaron Donald, Patrick Mahomes' career is done. Because think about a line that includes Aaron Donald, Yannick Ngakoue, Solomon Thomas, Cleveland Ferrell, and Max Crosby.
That's a dangerous combo.
Yeah. Not to mention there's like some small, like really small rumors that Khalil Mack might be coming back to the Raiders.
Ooh, if that actually happens, that one will be definitely
Really
interesting.
small, and they're nowhere near substantiated. So
No, I'm just saying,
they're completely unsubstantiated rumors, but there's it's floating.
That one would definitely be interesting if that actually does happen. Because I want to see that happen and actually see how all that plays out.
Yeah. And then last but not least,
the 49ers running back Jeff Wilson will miss a total of 4 to 6 months due to a surgery to his torn meniscus and will miss the first few games in the regular season.
Yeah. So he's due. So he just had his surgery to repair the meniscus.
Yes.
So he's expected to miss somewhere between 4 to 6 months, and will definitely miss at least the first few games of the season.
I'm saying at least the first 4 games.
Yeah, but with how stacked the Niners are on running backs right now, they signed 2 in the offseason, not to mention they drafted 2. So the running back room is really packed right now. They got to cut it down anyways. And this way, they get a guy in Jeff Wilson who is a decent running back. They can hold on to him without having to worry about cutting him. They're just going to have to find room for him when he does come back.
Yeah, and so, yes, he will miss OTAs, but he will be able to come back in the regular season. They'll probably wait until probably week 6 or 7 to make sure he's fully 100% ready to go before they throw him in.
Yeah, he definitely won't be. He won't play anything before week 5, I can imagine.
But he will miss, guaranteed, at least the first 4 games of the regular season.
Yeah, pretty much.
But I would not be surprised if they held him off for another 2-3 weeks to make sure he is 100% and he can actually go and do all his normal stuff without any issues.
Yeah, so I wouldn't expect to see him before like the middle of October? Or early October, middle September sometime.
Somewhere, I'm saying between week 7 and 9.
Yeah.
So right in the middle of the season.
Yeah. But that's it for our news and updates from around the league for this week. We thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed all the news that we brought you. We're really looking forward to the upcoming season. We're powering in towards that. We've got our divisional breakdowns coming up here in a few weeks that we're going to be getting started on. So look forward to that, and also look forward to tomorrow's discussion episode. Think of it as a little bit of a preview of the way we're gonna handle the divisional breakdowns as we talk about who should be the next quarterback for the New Orleans Saints.
And tomorrow's discussion will definitely be a fun one for both of us to talk about, because there will be a lot to talk about in a very short time frame.
Yeah, we're literally talking about the heir to Drew Brees' throne.
Yeah, so you'll definitely have to join us in for tomorrow and definitely listen in to see how all this might play out.
Yep. And once again, let's give a big round of applause for Kyle for joining the team. We really appreciate having him. We're really happy to have him, and we thank all of you for all the support that you've given us. And we hope you'll continue to go with us and share this with your friends. Please don't forget to like and comment and subscribe to our channel if you want to keep hearing more of us. Until the next one, we'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.